South Africa's economy shed some of the growth gained in the first 6 months of the year, with GDP falling by 0.2% in the third quarter. According to Stats SA, the data over the period gives no clear indication of the direction of the economy. 5 of the 10 economic industries registered declines, while the other 5 showed muted growth of less than 1%. So what does it mean? Well, Ntokozo Khumalo is standing by to break this down for us with the Statistician-General Risenga, Maluleke, who, Ntokozo, never gets excited about the numbers, but surely this must be worrying for him too.
Well, you know exactly the response that he would have given us, that he does not get emotional on the back of numbers. But what the Deputy Director General did tell us is that the data for the third quarter shows that the economy is moving sideways, but that does not necessarily give us an indication on whether we are seeing growth or we are seeing a decline in the economy. But certainly that 0.2% decline in the third quarter concerning. I am now with the Stats General, Mr. Risenga. Maluleke, thank you for talking to us. Now, it's the first decline that we've seen in 2023. Could you just give us an overview of the numbers? We saw 5 of the industries, decline, and 5 showing that muted growth over the period.
Well, for starters, Ntokozo, is that we have observed since the beginning of the year that our economy was growing about 0.4% in the first quarter, 0.5% in the second quarter as revised. And in this regard, when you are growing or your growth is tapering around a zero, anything can happen. You either can go a bit up or you can go low. And in this regard, in the third quarter, we can see that there are industries that tried to lift the economy, but they would not do enough. I mean, look at gas, electricity, gas and water and utilities. They tried to grow largely due to an increase in production and consumption. But you can see as well personal services and some, they tried, but they would not lift the economy. The biggest draw down was coming from agriculture, which grew this biggest in the negative and contributed negative 0.3%. Of course, if you look at mining, if you look at manufacturing, they also grew in the negative, and indeed their contribution largely was that in the negative 0.1 as well as 0%. So indeed we have been seeing an economy that has been growing sideways, and it would go either way.
And just talk us through what are some of the contributing factors to those economy or those industries that did register a decline. I mean, in manufacturing, we saw a majority of the subsectors within manufacturing actually drawing back over the quarter.
If you look at manufacturing, let's start with mining. You have the platinum metal groups, you have coal, and of course, if you look at agriculture, for example, in crop production, in animal products and horticulture are the ones that grew much in the negative. And of course, if you look at manufacturing, the whole area of petroleum products has been an effect.
And we are going into the fourth quarter, looking out for that data next year. But it's usually a quarter where those industries do see some improvement. Based on the data that we've been seeing in that year, does it indicate more of the same as we go looking forward to the fourth quarter data?
The reason why we measure the economy quarter on quarter is because we don't want to speculate. You will have seen commentators as of the third quarter. They were saying that it could grow at about 0.1, 0.2%. And indeed we have seen a contraction. So one of the things is that we are measuring on the monthlies, but beyond that, once we have concluded the entire quarter, we will come back and report. So we can't speculate in Ntokozo. We have to wait until we reach out to the entire country through media houses like yourselves.
And let's talk a little bit about the sectors that did see some improvements. None of them registering growth of over 1%, all of it under 1%. What were the positive contributors to them seeing that growth? You've already touched on some of those drawbacks for those industries.
Well, if you look at, for example, I've already spoken about utilities. we can see a contribution that came from production and consumption of electricity. But if you look, the growth was just 0.2% and the contribution was 0.1 of a percentage point. So even the others, none of them did a stronger contribution and none of them grew much in the positive. Because if they had grown much or much more stronger and contributed much in the positive, we would have seen an above zero growth. We would not have seen a contraction. But also, if you go back to consumption, expenditure on the economy, household consumption, for example, you can see that only semi-durable goods did well. The others, durable, non-durable, have actually gone in the negative and contributed negatively. Of course, we have seen in the form of clothing and footwear, as well as restaurants, hotels and restaurants doing a contribution in the positive. However, household final consumption expenditure has been it's the second quarter in the negative from the second quarter of 2023 and now in the third quarter 2023.
You're certainly signaling that pressure that consumers and South African households are under. Before I let you go, Stats General, just talk us through what is happening there in the imports, exports. We saw movement there. What were some of the drivers over the third quarter?
Let us look at exports. Exports grew 0.6%, but in the form of imports, they went in the negative 8.6%. And largely, it was due to the fact that if you look in the second quarter, we had machinery or equipment that relates to renewable energy. And in this third quarter, there was not much in the form of imports. That is why we have seen not only in the negative, there was a contribution in the positive, 2.7 percentage points from imports. But the fact that the growth was 8.6% in the negative actually did come very strong in terms of the performance of imports in the negative.
Stats General, let's leave it there. As always, thank you so much for talking to us. Of course, that is Mr. Risenga Maluleke, who is the Statistician-General, and it is the final data that we'll get out of the Stats Office this year, which is large economic data, and a rather disappointing way to close off the year with that 0.2% decline in the economy over the third quarter of the year, Dudu. And we'll be watching all the other signals of where the economy is leading to as we go into the new year.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Ntokozo Khumalo, for that update.